Hey guys, it's Benja the Body Whisperer here. How's it going? Good morning. It's a lovely day. Just going to meet with a guy who's going to help me to kind of spread the message of Benja the Body Whisperer. It's something that I am not. It's definitely I have my strengths. Definitely not one of my strengths to market myself. I feel weird about it. Even though I believe in my message, I believe in the thing, for some reason, putting it out there, I just don't have the drive to do it. So I decided, well, why don't I ended up meeting this guy, and so I thought, well, I'll put some money is just energy once removed, energy into doing this. And it's something that I just don't have. I'd rather produce the content, talk about the diets, talk about movement, than, even though in the past I've put all this stuff together, websites, things like that. For some reason right now I just have no push to do that, but I can hire this guy to do it. So if as I'm putting this out there, if you guys are interested, I am trying to put together this as a company so that I can be a little more flexible in where I live and work, hopefully be able to come home to the States more, and share what I've learned. So I think it could be a win-win. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know. Whenever I talk about this stuff, I'm always like, nah. I'd rather talk about the fitness stuff and talk about the movement. So right now, yesterday, I had a day where I went to the chiro and I was off. I did a 4.5 hour walk with a friend, and see, this is the other side of it. Like, trauma to the body doesn't have to be a big thing, right? Or the mind in your life. And this is where I think it can be a bit insidious, in the sense that people don't see it for what it is you got to look at it on a time scale, and like there's a amplitude of like intensity. So if you get like hit by a car or something along those lines, that's like a big trauma. Or, you know, playing a sport and you fall or whatever. That's a big trauma in a short period of time, and that's very, like, people can look at that and say, oh, it was that. And it's very easy to see. Same as with like mental traumas. You know, if some big thing happens and affects you, people are, oh yeah, that. But then what do you do about the littler traumas, the littler things that are a little less, they're not as noticeable. So little traumas, if you, like, even, like, I notice it. Let's say I buy a new pair of shoes, and like the new pair of shoes starts to give me a blister. I notice that I continue to walk a little bit different while that blister is there. Now, the good thing is the blister heals, it toughens up, and then the pain goes away, and then you're able to walk normally. But during those like few days, like, you walk differently. So now if you continued that, if that pain didn't go away and it was just subtle, it was little, you're like, nah, it's just an annoyance. But it's enough to like change the way you move, then it's gonna come back, and it's gonna start affecting this muscle and this muscle and this muscle and this muscle. So for me, having like a weekend, and it could be like a weekend glute. So my 4-hour walk, you know, start off normal, 45 minutes is what I typically do, or an hour normal. Keep moving. That starts to tire, and then it gets tired before everything else, and then you start moving just a little bit different, and a little bit different, and a little bit different. Then over a 3.5 hour period, it affects another muscle, and it affects another muscle, and then by the end of it, the next day, you're like, oh God, what did I do? And you're like, I just went walking, that's all. But it was the period of time. It wasn't just like a fast, quick, big thing. It was a small, slow, prolonged thing. And that's a great example, even in life. You know, these things as well, like little things like that. If you're mentally too, like emotional traumas, that if you're learning something over a long period of time, that's maybe not the best way to deal with situations, and you see it or experience it, and then that becomes the way that you do it, but it's actually, you're not able to set boundaries or do these things, and you allow people then to, because that's what you allow people to, I don't want to say take advantage, but to a certain extent you do, because if you don't set a boundary and say, no, that's not cool, and then you continue to let it happen, those resentments can build up over time. And then you have like these moments where something will happen that's little, but it's not just that little thing, it's everything that came before it. And so it's out of context. It's like, you'll have this moment of like, no, I'm setting a boundary now. And people are like, why is he setting a boundary, or she setting a boundary about that, the little thing right now? It's because it's skewed over time, right? So that's something to think about. That's why a lot of the binge stuff it's about observing, taking a break, building up slowly, and trying to balance out these systems physically, emotionally, mentally, and depending on where you're at, like philosophically, so that you can start to kind of get a baseline and then move from there into the world. So just some thoughts for the day. I got to get going. So take care. Binge of the Body Whisperer out. Keep moving, people.